A $150 jacket hanging on a rack at Yorkdale Mall or Pacific Center did not cost $150 to make. In most cases, it cost somewhere between $8 and $18 to produce, land on Canadian soil, clear customs, and reach that polished retail floor. The rest of that price tag is not craftsmanship. It is not superior cotton. It is not skilled Canadian labor. It is a marketing budget, a licensing arrangement, a celebrity endorsement, and the rent on a premium retail footprint that charges some of the highest per square foot rates in North America. The Canadian man is being systematically overcharged for garments that would embarrass a quality control inspector at a reputable mill. This is not conjecture. This is arithmetic. And today, we are doing the math. Now let us start with how garments actually enter Canada. A dress shirt manufactured in Bangladesh carries a standard Canadian import duty of approximately 18% on the declared customs value. That declared value is almost always the ex-factory price, which for a mid-market polyester blend dress shirt sits between $3 and $6 per unit. Add ocean freight from Chittagong to the port of Vancouver or Montreal, clear customs brokerage fees, truck it to a distribution center in the Greater Toronto Area, warehouse it, allocate staff payroll, shrinkage allowance, and a retail margin that most publicly traded apparel groups target at 60 to 70% gross, and you arrive at a landed and shelved cost of roughly $12 to $22 on a shirt that retails for $95 to $130. That is the machinery. Now let us name the machines. The first brand robbing you blind is Calvin Klein, specifically the mainline and Calvin Klein jeans lines sold through Hudson's Bay, Simons, and their own Canadian retail doors. Calvin Klein is owned by PVH Corp., a conglomerate with over $9 billion in annual revenue. The brand spent decades building an image of austere luxury. What it sells today is a polyester cotton blend dress shirt, typically around 60% cotton and 40% synthetic, woven at a thread count between 80 and 100, which places it firmly in the commodity tier of shirting fabric. A quality dress shirt starts at 120 thread count 2-ply poplin. What Calvin Klein offers you for $90 to $120 is a fused collar, meaning the interlining is glued rather than sewn, which means it will bubble and separate after repeated dry cleaning. The label, the lifestyle imagery, and the Yorkdale square footage are what you're paying for. The garment itself has a production cost that industry analysts familiar with PVH sourcing put in the $6 to $9 range per unit before duties and logistics. The second offender is Levi's. Before the outrage begins, hear the forensics. The Levi's 501 has a legendary history. The denim being sold in Canadian Levi's retail locations and major department stores today is predominantly sourced from mills in Mexico, Pakistan, and increasingly Vietnam, woven at weights between 10 and 11 ounces. That is not inherently disqualifying. The problem is the price-to-construction ratio. A pair of standard Levi's 501s retails in Canada between $80 and $110. The landed cost on that unit, including fabric, cut and sew labor, finishing, duty, and logistics, sits in the $15 to $22 range. Levi's spends aggressively on marketing, nostalgia licensing, and a retail infrastructure that spans hundreds of Canadian locations. You're buying a pair of jeans with a plastic waistband patch and a modern fit that bears only symbolic resemblance to the original American-made product. The original Cone Mills White Oak denim is gone. What remains is a brand name wearing the skin of a legacy. Third on this list is Tommy Hilfiger, another PVH stable brand. This is the intra-conglomerate gap made visible. PVH owns both Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. Both brands source from overlapping supplier networks in Bangladesh, Vietnam, and Cambodia. Both use similar weight fabrics, similar construction methods, and similar finishing standards. Tommy Hilfiger polo shirts retail in Canada between $75 and $110. The peak cotton used is typically around 180 to 200 GSM, which is an acceptable weight. But the yarn quality is combed rather than ring-spun or supaima, meaning the fiber staple length is shorter, the fabric pills faster, and the hand feel degrades within a season of regular washing. PVH charges a brand premium on both labels simultaneously, and the Canadian consumer effectively pays twice for the same supply chain dressed in different logos. Fourth is Roots Canada, which deserves special attention because it wraps itself in a Canadian identity that its manufacturing record does not fully support. Roots markets itself as a heritage Canadian brand. A significant portion of its apparel, particularly its basic fleece and jersey lines, is sourced offshore. The beaver logo and the cottage country aesthetic carry enormous emotional premium among Canadian consumers. A basic Roots hoodie retails between $90 and $130. The fleece used is typically a cotton-polyester blend, around 300 to 320 GSM, which is adequate for a budget fleece but not exceptional. American-made alternatives in pure ring-spun cotton fleece at similar or superior GSM exist at significantly lower retail prices. Roots is not a scam in the aggressive sense, but it is charging a patriotism tax that the actual supply chain does not justify. Fifth is Banana Republic, owned by Gap Inc. Banana Republic spent the 90s and early 2000s building a reputation for accessible luxury suiting and elevated basics. The current product in Canadian Gap Inc. retail locations and online has quietly but systematically degraded in material specification, while retail prices have remained flat or increased. A Banana Republic dress trouser in Canada retails between $90 and $140. The fabric used in their standard travel stretch trousers is predominantly polyester or a polyester viscose blend, positioned with language like performance fabric or wrinkle resistant. It is petroleum-derived textile sold to you as sophisticated business attire. A wool blend trouser from a legitimate mill-connected brand at the same price point will outlast it by years. Banana Republic is living on a reputation that its current production standards do not support. Sixth is Club Monaco, which now falls under Ralph Lauren Corporation's umbrella after Polo Ralph Lauren acquired it. Club Monaco built a cult following in Canada, where it originated as a cleaner, more architectural alternative to the logo-heavy mainstream. What you get today is a brand coasting on a minimalist aesthetic while charging prices that assume a level of fabric and construction investment that is not present in the product. A Club Monaco Oxford shirt in Canada sits between $100 and $125. The fabric is typically an 80 to 100 thread count cotton. A single needle side seams on some units, but not consistently, with pattern-matched shoulders on very few. For that price, a consumer importing directly from a Portuguese or Japanese shirting brand would receive a superior product by almost every measurable standard. You are paying for the Bloor Street address. 7th is Guess. Guess operates in Canada through department stores and standalone retail, targeting a younger demographic with aggressive logo placement and denim that positions itself as aspirational. The denim construction is entry-level at best. Guess jeans typically run 10-ounce or lighter denim from commodity mills in Asia, with stretch elastane blended in to reduce material costs, while adding a premium-feeling recovery that consumers associate with quality. It is not quality. It is a cost-saving material decision dressed up in marketing language. Guess jeans retail between $80 and $120 in Canada. Their actual cost of goods sold, based on publicly available SEC filings from Guess in Cash and standard industry sourcing benchmarks, sits in the $12 to $18 range per unit. The logos and the runway adjacency are the product. The jeans are incidental. Now let us talk about what is actually worth your money as a Canadian man who has decided he is done being managed. The first brand worth serious consideration is Gustin, a San Francisco-based, direct-to-consumer denim and basics company that uses a crowd-funded production model to eliminate retail overhead entirely. Their denim is sourced from Japanese mills, primarily Kone and Kurabo, at weights between 12 and 15 ounces. A selvage construction, proper sanforization, copper rivets, and genuine indigo dyeing. A pair of Gustin selvage jeans lands in Canada between $80 and $110, including duties. You're getting 12-ounce Japanese selvage denim for the same price as a pair of Levi's. The math here is honest. The second brand is Huckberry, specifically their house brand and curated partner items. Huckberry operates as a direct-to-consumer platform and applies strict material standards to their branded products. Their flannel shirts use ring-spun cotton at weights of around 240 grams per square meter. Their chinos use a cotton-nylon blend that is actually performance-engineered, not just elastane-padded commodity fabric. Huckberry ships to Canada, and prices are competitive relative to what you receive in material and construction. Third is Proper Cloth, a made-to-measure dress shirt company that allows Canadian customers to build a shirt to exact measurements using fabrics sourced from Italian and English mills, including Thomas Mason and Albini Group. A Proper Cloth shirt in an Albini cotton poplin at 160 thread count, 2-ply construction, with genuine mother-of-pearl buttons, single needle side seams, and a soft or removable collar stay costs between $100 and $135 landed in Canada. That is the same price as a Calvin Klein shirt with a fused collar and 80 thread count fabric. This comparison should make you uncomfortable about every Calvin Klein shirt you have ever purchased. Fourth, and specific to Canadian buyers, is Uniqlo. Uniqlo entered the Canadian market with a Toronto flagship location and has continued expanding. Uniqlo's supply chain efficiency is exceptional. Their HeatTech base layers use a proprietary thermal fiber technology developed in-house. Their Oxford cloth button-down shirts use a 100 to 120 thread count, Japanese-loomed Oxford weave at a retail price of around 40 to 60 Canadian dollars. The construction is not bespoke, but the material-to-price ratio is among the most honest in the Canadian retail market. Uniqlo does not pretend to be luxury. It is engineered basics at fair prices. That honesty alone puts it above half the brands on this list. Fifth is Flint & Tinder, the menswear division of Huckberry's owned brands. Flint & Tinder manufactures their flagship products in the United States, which adds production cost, but is reflected honestly in their pricing. Their 10-year hoodie, made from a 350 GSM ring-spun cotton fleece, retails at around 130 Canadian dollars with shipping. That is more than a Roots hoodie, but the GSM is higher, the fiber quality is superior, and they offer a 10-year warranty that Roots cannot match. This is what honest pricing looks like when the production cost is genuinely higher. Here is the summary verdict for every brand examined today. Calvin Klein, egregious price-to-quality gap, PVH marketing subsidy disguised as a product. Levi's, nostalgic brand coasting on heritage while sourcing commodity denim at premium prices. Tommy Hilfiger, intra-conglomerate redundancy, paying twice for the same PVH supply chain under a different logo. Roots, patriotism, premium not justified by supply chain transparency or material specification. Banana Republic, a luxury reputation running on polyester borrowed time. Club Monaco, architectural minimalism as a retail concept, not as a construction philosophy. Guess, Elastane padded commodity denim with a logo tax and no apology. On the other side, Gustin gives you Japanese selvage at honest direct-to-consumer pricing. Proper Cloth gives you Italian mill fabric in a made-to-measure shirt for the price of a mall brand off the rack. Huckberry and Flint & Tinder give you material transparency and genuine performance engineering. Uniqlo gives you supply chain efficiency passed directly to the consumer at prices that embarrass the competition. The Canadian man is not short on options. He is short on information. And that information gap is exactly what every brand on the first list is designed to exploit. The moment you understand that a fused collar and a cotton poly blend at $95 is a worse product than a Thomas Mason poplin shirt at $110, you cannot unknow it. You see the machinery. You understand the markup. You follow the money, and it leads you away from the mall and toward the suppliers who are willing to tell you exactly what you're buying and exactly why it costs what it costs. Value is not about status. It is about construction. Choose wisely. Dress for yourself